You've spent an entire career fighting fires and rescuing the injured, sick, and dying. But that's all over now. What do you do when the sirens stop, you've hung up your gear, and you walk out of the firehouse for the last time? What do you do with your life when the smoke clears? Welcome back to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. I'm Russell Miles. I'm here with Tony Ben-Cosme, and we are very happy to be back with you guys again. Thanks for tuning in and tapping in and listening to us. And we are very excited for our interview today. And Tony's going to tell us who we got on the mic with us.
Thank you very much, Russ. This gentleman here I'm about to introduce is like a brother of mine. I mean, I've known him since the beginning of our careers. We met the first day we got hired with same recruit class. He actually had the sense to get out a little earlier than me. So in that way, he's definitely smarter. This brother, we went through a lot together through recruit class, a lot of good experiences. I can't get too loose with it because he knows where the bodies are buried at. So,
every last one of them.
That's right. He retired with 23 years of service, worked at some of the busiest stations in Montgomery County. He was there at the very beginning. With great pleasure, I want to introduce to you Firefighter Adrian Lacey. Thanks for coming, Adrian.
Thank you, brothers. I really appreciate you having me. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you today.
Yeah, man. And we know you were one of our first early initial supporters of the pod. So, man, we appreciate you rocking with us.
No doubt, man. A lot of love.
I love what you guys are doing, man. I love this podcast, man. I learned a whole lot about folks I knew on the job and had no idea. Like their upbringing or anything like that. So it's a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
No problem, brother.
Yeah. So I also have a connection with Adrian. I wasn't there in the beginning of the recruit class like how Tony was, but myself, Tony, and Adrian actually worked at the same Firehouse, Station 12 in Hillandale for a long time. Adrian was on the A shift, and Tony and I were on the B shift. So always got to see Adrian as he was getting off, and we were coming on, and it was always great to chop it up with him and just talk, usual fire department craziness. So
I enjoyed it too, brother.
Good times, man. Good times.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
So, yes, sir. So with all that being said, man, tell us a little bit about how you were born, like how you were, or how it was coming up, and life for you in the early years.
All right. So I was born in Freedman's Hospital in Washington, D.C. A lot of folks might not know, may not remember or ever heard of Freedman's, but that is now Howard University Hospital, right? So May 21st, 1970. And we lived with my grandparents and my uncles for a little bit in the early 70s. And then in 74, we moved to Okinawa, Japan. I was a military kid.
Wow.
Stepdad stationed in Japan. So we moved to Okinawa. A year later, my brother was born. So my brother has dual citizenship, U.S. and Japan. So 76, we moved from there to the Philippines, right? And then in 78, we moved back stateside, back to the DMV, back in Laurel for a few months. And then from there, we moved to Seat Pleasant over there in a neighborhood called Royal Oaks, Willow Hills.
Right.
And from there, in 82, we moved to Upper Marlboro, Maryland, the Meadows. So when I claim an area, I claim Upper Marlboro, right? So from 7th grade through the time right before I got hired in the fire department, I was Upper Marlboro. So went to junior high school in Upper Marlboro as a 7th grader. We were 7th, 8th, and 9th. And in there, I met cats. We weren't friends, but I knew them from afar. I knew who they were, like Cliff Billingsley. He was in 9th grade. We were at junior high school together for that 1 year. Kelvin Thomas, and then we all ended up at Frederick Douglass. The three of us. Carl Young also went to Frederick Douglass. Vanessa DeFries now, Vanessa Ridgely, she's
wow.
from Douglass. Damian Langston, Frederick Douglass. So there's about 6 of us that came out of Frederick Douglass, man. I'm the baby of the bunch. So
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah,
Nice.
A lot of people.
a lot of folks, man. So I was pretty I was a pretty active kid coming up, big into sports. Got into trouble, like not real serious trouble, but trouble like kind of being bad just because I was so active and mischievous, right? And but then that played sports coming up, played basketball and soccer when I was overseas, and when we came back to the States, I played a little bit of baseball, I played some football, and went back to soccer again, and I rode soccer out through college. So yeah.
Okay. Where'd you go to college?
I had an interesting journey. So coming out of high school, I got one scholarship offer from the small school in Salisbury, North Carolina called Catawba College, right? It was an NAIA school. Soccer wise, they were very talented, but it was hot, man. It was hot as I don't know what down there. So I was like, man, I don't know, right? So I had a few options. So my freshman year, I actually ended up at this small school in Bethany, West Virginia called Bethany College, right? About 900 students. Campus was beautiful. It was a Division III school. It was a decent school. Soccer team was very good. So that's where I was as a freshman. Like a lot of student athletes, things don't always go the way that you want them to go. When a lot of times, even as a freshman, you're thinking you have a certain opinion of yourself, and when your coach or maybe your coaches are sharing that same opinion, via how your lack of playing time or whatever, it can affect you in a negative way, right? So you may think that, he's not respecting me, or I'm much better than these other cats who are getting all this playing time. Where, remember, you're only 18, right? Your vision isn't necessarily like this, right? It's like this, and there are little things that I may not have been doing that I needed to do in order to get more time on the field. So I thought the coach, there was we had a training session the night before we were traveling, and coach told me that, hey, we're going to use you in the game tomorrow. All right. When we travel, we're a small school. When we travel, we had a roster of 26. We don't have room for 26 in the van, brother. So, right. So when we travel, we usually travel with 16, right? And then you had the manager and coaches and, equipment. So, so we had a meeting the night before we travel after the training session, and the coach runs off the roster for the game tomorrow, and I'm not on the roster, right? So I'm like, man, this dude just told me, a few hours ago that I'm going to be playing tomorrow, right? So I took that as like major disrespect, and basically he was lying to me, right? But one thing that when I look back on it that I missed was I wasn't in a place, a mature enough place to go have a conversation with him about it, right? Say, coach, what's up, man? You just told me a few hours ago that I'm playing tomorrow, and now I'm not even going on the trip, right? So so that affected me a certain kind of way. Excuse me, and for me back then at that age, it was like all or nothing, right? So, oh, this dude lying to me. It's like, nah, I'm done with this cat, right? So so I play on the reserve team from that point on, and this is in the fall. So, we do the spring season, and then the next year I don't come back, right? I'm like, I'm not going back there, right? This dude's lying to me, right? So the following fall of '89, I ended up at Alabama A&M University, right? So, you have we send our kids to all of these like ID camps, these college showcase tournaments, regardless of the sport, right? For that chance for them to get noticed and get offered a scholarship, right?
Right.
So back in the day, man, I loved soccer so much. I kept my cleats. I kept the ball in the car. So, man, if I came upon anything on the Humboldt, I would pull over, get out, and ask to join in, right? So we're out and about. I'm flowing past Largo High School. I see a group of kids out on the field playing. I said, I'm gonna go check this out, right? So I go over there, check it out. It's a little low key soccer camp, right? So I get out. I go up to the gentleman running the camp. I say, hey man, you mind if I join in? He's like, yeah, man. Yeah, come on. So I jump in. I'm balling with the kids, having a good time. I said, hey man, you mind if I can come back the rest of the week? He said, yeah, man, I'd love to have you back the rest of the week, right? So I come back the rest of the week. For him, maybe it's free help. I don't know, right? I'm not hurting anything, right? So so at the end of the week, he asked me what I was doing soccer-wise. So I told him about, my last season, my first year in college. And he's like, okay. He said, would you be willing to, talk to the coach at, Alabama A&M? I said, sure, man. I'll talk to anybody, right? So he had spoken to the coach first. Come to find out, he was an alumnus of the school and the team and was highly regarded by the coach, right? So so when I talked to the coach is telling me, so yes, the guy's name was Derek Plummer. He was a gentleman that was running the camp. He said, Derek speaks very highly of you, right? Now keep in mind, man, I'm working out with some kids. I'm not playing against cats my own.
You just working other kids out. You just working other kids out.
Yeah. My own age, on my own level or higher, right? So he says, Derek speaks very highly of you, right? So the coach is talking, and this is back in summer '89, right? Like no internet for us, right? I've never seen this school, never applied to this school, got no idea, like what the top subjects, areas of major areas are, right? So so I said to the coach, I said, well, coach, who do you guys play? Right? Man, he started running off all these like top 20 schools. I was like, what? I'm already late, right? Training camp started on Monday, right? I'm having this conversation with him on Wednesday, right? Excuse me. Training camp started Sunday. I'm having this conversation with him on a Tuesday, right? He started running off these schools like George Mason, Howard University, Philadelphia Textile, Boston, UConn, right? I said,
wow, UConn.
I said, I'll be there Thursday. Right?
That's what's up.
En route now, actually.
I'll be there Thursday, right? I show up. I apply on Friday, right? I get accepted on Monday, right? I got a physical Monday afternoon, right? I'm on the field on Tuesday, right? So I'm on the field. Before I even left, he told me, he said, look, you can come in, you'll be a part of the team, you'll train with us, you'll travel, but I don't have any scholarship money left, but we'll figure out how to some financial aid, right? And depending on how well you do in training, will determine if you get to play or not. I said, man, that sounds as fair as it can get, right? So I showed up, got accepted on Monday, got my physical Monday. I'm on the field on Tuesday, right? Train Tuesday, train Wednesday, train Thursday, train Friday. Friday afternoon, he says, come in my office. He says, sign right here, right? 4 days, brother. I have full scholarship.
Wow.
Man.
Yep.
That's what's up.
Couple dudes didn't come back. Coach was reaching out. They didn't reach back. When there was no money, now there's money, right? So and I just say that to say, like, things can work out for these kids in unconventional ways, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't have to happen one way. Sometimes it's right place, right time, having some faith, and just like betting on yourself, right?
Right.
So, so from there, you know, I went there for that semester, came home, and went to Bowie State that next spring. I needed to sit out a year because, you know, I was doing things the Adrian way and not the right way, right? So, so I actually went into that school that season as an incoming freshman, where I was already a freshman at Bethany College. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
He
It's like
didn't know. He didn't know, right? So I sat out that following season, and I was at Bowie State. And actually, Bowie State, man, was where I actually learned the most. I felt that all of my professors actually cared about my future, right, my well-being, and that was the place where I really didn't want to go, right? But I learned the most there, and I ended up going back down to A&M in '91. You know, same jersey, same scholarship, and I left prior to midterm because I was missing my girlfriend, who's my wife, so much, and I was like, nah, I gotta go home, and I came home. So when I came home, now we are late fall, early winter '91, right? So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So I go back to Bowie State, spring '92, same thing, you know, doing well, one or two classes, doing not so good in the other classes. And I'm just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. I got to figure something else out, right? Now, I had a father figure who was the original pay career group of Prince George's County.
okay.
And even though he didn't talk about it much with us, I was basically a part of his family. He didn't talk about it a whole lot with us, but he always had on like the PGFD, you know, the Stu T-shirts, always, right? I always saw this, right? So, so I was like, you know what? I thought about a police department, and I was like,
Not gonna be able to do.
folks don't really like the cops too much right now, you know. So
That hasn't changed much. Yeah.
yeah. So let me check this out, right? So I
Yeah.
applied to PG again, right? They were
Mhm.
like, yeah, we're not accepting applications, and they mailed that joint back, right? So
Wow.
that was a little insulting, right? I was like, huh, okay.
Oh wow.
I was like, okay. I said, all right. Well, let me see who else is.
They
Let me see
mailed it
who's
back.
hiring, right? Montgomery County said, oh, we're hiring. I said, cool. Applied to them. Took my written test, and things just went dark, right? Just went silent. I was like, okay. So let me call these folks up. Man, I called them people like twice a week for months, right? For months.
Debbie Shaw.
And finally, one of my last phone calls to them was, oh, well, you didn't get in this class. But, and I can't remember how the rest of that conversation went, but the most important part was I didn't get into class. Okay. So I said, okay. And then I got a call back within the next week or two, right? Somebody dropped out, and we wanted to reach out to someone who we felt really wanted a job. And you were calling us all the time, so we knew you wanted a job. So they offered it to me. I was like, bet, right? Okay. So now I'm in. First day of recruit school, man, I see like 43 other heads in there. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, so they're telling me these 43 people are better than me? I said, okay, well, let's get to it, right? So you know how PT starts, you know? I was like, folks dropping, folks walking, folks can't do a pull-up, folks can't do this, folks can't do that. I was like, all right, I see they ain't better than me, right? EMT test comes along. You got some folks walking that green mile, right? And I was like, huh. I guess they not better than me either. And that's just that internal competitiveness that I don't always know that it's there, right? But it'll come out, right? First day we do pull-ups, man. I've only prior to that moment, I think I did I remember doing maybe 10 pull-ups at one time at the most, right? First day I did 18. It's just that competitive environment, right? You got all eyes on you, right? It's like, what you gonna do, right? So, and I loved it, right? I loved it. So it worked well for me. But as far as college goes, that was my college career. Basically, I started out majoring in biology, and then I switched over to phys ed, but I never finished.
All right. But man, that is quite the journey to the fire department, man.
It was, yeah.
That is interesting. I never knew you lived overseas. That's a heck of an experience being out there. Yeah.
Man, that's one of the cool things about this podcast, brother. Man, I was living in Japan, speaking a little bit, understanding a little bit while we were there. I was young, so I'm absorbing everything like a sponge. Same thing when we moved to the Philippines, speaking a little bit, understanding a little bit, come back here, held on to it for a little while, and then you don't use it, you lose it, right? So but my mom had a parent teacher conference when I was in 4th grade when we came back, and I remember when I told you, I was kind of a bad kid, right? So I get my work done in class, and then I'd be disturbing the class, right? So but one of the things the teacher said to my mom was that, I really appreciate him being in the class because he's bringing so much more culture to an environment where most of these kids have never been outside the Beltway.
Right.
Yeah. And, I thought that was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing like travel and exposure to the world to like destroy prejudice and open your mind up and just let you know that there's a whole world beyond your little,
Yes,
4 walls of your community.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. People haven't left and haven't even gone 100, 200 miles out of the area, which is crazy, but
it's a shame. Yeah.
So yeah, you was in that recruit class. Yeah, man, that class. Not I can speak from here.
Recruit class 7. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we was in that class, and there was some dudes that were physically fit in there. I'm looking back now. Oh my goodness!
And them same dudes are still physically fit.
Yeah, I mean Wims, Kennedy, just name it, Clemens, just straight dogs, man. I mean, it was a lot.
It was like beautiful.
It was like 10, 12 people that were just straight up dogs, man.
Yeah, we had Ray Red Light.
Yes.
Folks forget about him. He left and went to PG Police.
PG County, yeah.
That dude was always ready to get hired by FDNY, right? So that was his dream. He stayed ready. So I mean, we had dogs in there, bro.
Robert Ford, Captain Ford, or retired Ford.
Yes, sir.
I mean, no, it was a bunch of dudes, man.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So you're done your recruit class.
Done recruit class.
You're done that. There's plenty of good stories there.
Yeah.
I mean, we had some guys they got let go because they couldn't back in those days.
Pass that EMT quiz, brother.
The midterm, remember? Like if you need to pass 2 quizzes, and if you failed one of the quizzes, you was gone. And if you you could pass the midterm, but you needed like a 75 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 75 or 80.
Yeah, even or else they'll send you packing.
Look, and felt no kind of way about it either.
No, they do it in front of the class. I remember they'd be like, yeah, we got 2 guys, 3 guys that are not making it. And then they just disappear. You see them picking up their stuff.
They fade to black. They gone, bro.
Yeah, that's a reminder. Yeah, you're here for a good time, not a long time. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It's like how someone I know always used to say, it's not show friends, it's show business.
Show business, baby.
There you go.
It's not show friends, man. We like you, but hey,
yes,
the clock keeps ticking and time keeps moving.
Yeah, we'll like you while you're at home too.
Yeah, just as well.
Yes,
so you get out of recruit class.
Yes.
We're done that. That was exciting. It's new to you.
Yes.
It's like nothing you ever done before, but it's fun. And you realize halfway through, this is what I want to do, right?
I was loving it.
Yeah.
I was loving it.
That's good. So this is a calling at this point. You're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, it feels right,
Good.
Yeah.
So where are you assigned as a rookie?
12A. 12A. You know, the last week or whatever in recruit school, we fill out our wish list of where we'd like to work. I don't know anything about any of the stations, bro. You know what I mean? I hear people talking about Tacoma Park. I hear people talking about Silver Spring. So that's what I put down, right? So I didn't get that. I got 12A, Hillandale, right? So and you know what? To this day, man, I am very grateful for how that worked out. So I went to a shift where Chief Tippett, at that time it was Lieutenant Tippett. He was my first officer. Right?
Solid.
Man, he was my first officer, right? And we had we you know, there's a lot of ego out there at certain spots and on these shifts. I mean, I guess we had ego too, but like it wasn't a trash talk type environment. You know, it was kind of like a quiet confidence kind of a thing. And that's kind of how Tippett flowed too, right? He was super smart, very skillful, very knowledgeable, and that worked out perfectly for me. So so I'm there, 12A, first day. I get to work about 5:30. I'm scared to death, you know. I'm nervous as I don't know what. And Senior Fire 3 comes in. At that point, he's got like 17 years in. This cat, Bob Ellis. We have an engine, a medic unit, and and the district chief, right? That's what we got. So we trained often, and Tippett was big. He was big on training. He was big on being as best prepared as he could possibly be, right? And and that worked out well for me. He loved to PT. He loved to train, and he admired others within the department who were doing the same things. So, and on that shift, we had Carl Young.
Yeah.
My master was Ronnie Shipley, and later on that summer, the tower came down from Station 24, so we added more to the shift, right? Clarence Copeland came down with the tower. So like Tippett, Copeland, Carl Young, Ellis, these dudes, these folks were mentors to me, and maybe not necessarily them realizing that they are at the time, but like they brought a lot to the table, right? So Clarence Copeland, this dude could drive anything.
Yeah. Teach
you everything about the apparatus, break it all down, and teach you how to drive, right? Bob Ellis, this dude, you know, operations, he was excellent, right? Engine company operations, he was excellent. Visual learner, right? Some guys are not really big on the math, the formulas for for flows and whatnot. But when it comes to doing the job itself, he was excellent, right? So, and we also had Audrey Deputy. She was a trauma nurse.
Yeah.
You know, she was a Fire 3 medic. She was a trauma nurse at Prince George's Hospital, right? So these folks had, in my opinion, these areas of expertise. So I would try to draw from what everybody was bringing to the table. And my philosophy was like, shoot, man, if I could do this like them, this like her, of course I'm not going to be a trauma nurse, right? So, but if I could take in like all of their strengths, you know, I should be excellent, right? And that's kind of what I tried to do. And you know what? I thoroughly enjoyed myself in those early years at 12A. I'm very grateful that I got what I got. I mean, there are days when Tippett and I would go out back and he would supervise me, and I cut up a whole car by myself, you know? So that stuff's priceless, man. All that hands-on, it was great, right? So yeah, I mean that was my first assignment, 12A, bro.
All right, so you're finishing your rookie packet, and
Yes,
you're doing
sir.
it. How long did you stay at 12? Where else did you go?
So I was on 12A we came out of recruit school in March 93. So from there through 96, early 97 maybe. Then I went on day work at 12D. So 12D, we had a system set up where we just kept that position in house, right? So my man, God rest his soul, Jason Oglesby was 12D. Excuse me, Carl Young was 12D. My first day, Carl comes off 12D, goes to 12A. J-Man goes to 12D, and I'm also a 12A rookie, right? So when Jason's time's up at 12D, Trent Lee, who was on B shift at the time, goes to 12D. J-Man goes to 12B, right? I get the email, you know, that your time is coming, Adrian. So I said, all right, Trent, man, I'm up next. So Trent comes to Asia, I go to 12D, right? So so now I'm 12D. I'm 12D for about a year. This one Sunday afternoon, I get a phone call from Chief Schaub. Chief Schaub says, Adrian, this paperwork came through my office, and I totally forgot about it. But it's a transfer. It's a transfer for you. You're going from 12D to 24D. They're doing away with the 12-day work position. I was like, God dang, right? So it's kind of like folks were like, oh man, you should grieve that. You should grieve that. I'm like, grieve what, man?
What you gonna grieve?
There's no position, bro. So I said, okay. I said, thanks, Chief. I said, I guess I'll be at 24 tomorrow. And then I went to 24D. So I was 24D for
24 day work. 24 day work.
Day work, yeah.
75 in those days, right? If I'm correct.
75. 4 days a week.
Yeah.
I had a Wednesday Kelly, right?
Okay.
So a Wednesday RDL, excuse me. So so I did that from 98, 99, and then I want to say maybe it was March or April of 2000. They did away with all of the day work at 24, so we had to find a place to go, right? So all right, so 12A was top of my list, so that's how I come back to 12A, and I ride that out until my last year in the drop, and I go to my last year. I want to go back to day work. I was gonna go back to day work, but it depended on where it was, right? And just so happens that 5D had a spot with OG and those guys. So
yeah,
my last year, I went over there and did that last year at Station 5 and had a ball, brother.
Station 5, yeah. So you was at 12. You were in Hillandale basically your whole career.
22 out of the 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's old school stuff there, man.
Yeah, that's very rare. Like you at least in our department,
is an anomaly. Yeah,
you will rarely find people who spend almost their whole career in one station.
It's got to line up. It lined up for them. Yeah.
Yeah. So like one, I loved it there. It was close to home. I love the area. You had a little bit of everything. You had all the socioeconomic. Every level, it was dense. You had a little bit of country. We bordered, Beltsville, Chillum, Delphi, all that stuff. You had all that. And I felt like it was a great place to work, man. So, and then when it came off a day work from 24, within that next year, I got checked out to Tiller. So we had cats who were tired of being on the truck because no one else could Tiller, right? So man, I got checked out to Tiller. And I was like, I ain't going nowhere. It's like, this is my spot, right? So I was loving it, right? You pull up on the scene, you're running the call, and so this is how I would let other folks know how nice that assignment was, right? So we have a fire like Heather Hollow, and we're winding things up. Chief Bowers was on the scene, so I said, Chief, tell this dude what's the best riding assignment in the fire department. He said, oh, he pointed up at that T7 spot. I said, that's right. So it's like, for me, it was like there's no reason to go anywhere, right? I love the station, I love the shift, I love the area, and like I had a primo riding assignment. I had that riding assignment for a strong 9 years, right? So like, and you know what else is involved in that riding assignment? Man, I'm not doing any paperwork.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any reports. And when the guy who drove the front was off, I would drive the front unless the person moving up or detailed in wanted to drive the front, and I was cool in the back. So I mean, it worked out for me, man. It worked out the way I liked it, the way I wanted it. So
Yeah. You actually rode a fire truck a lot. I mean,
I did.
That's rare.
Yeah.
Especially a combination system like we have, meaning it's EMS and fire. And two, it takes a lot to be good at that job. I mean, you're doing a lot of stuff by yourself. That means you can get in a lot of trouble by yourself. I mean, you're unsupervised for a certain extent because there's only 3 of you there.
Yeah.
You get on, you're working inside a fire without a hose line.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of different things that you got to know what you're doing before you can ride the back of that. You can ride the tiller. I mean, it comes with its advantages.
Yeah, and it's like on-the-job training too.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know if you're a Marvel movie fan, but Bruce Banner had a line. I want to say it was an Endgame where he was like, his secret is like he was always angry. Right, he didn't have to get angry; he was always angry. Right, so I think looking back on it, one of the things that helped me out is that may not sound macho or whatever, but like I was always scared. Right, so that kept me like, except when I was in my early years, for the most part, that kept me from doing something really stupid. Right, total line. If it don't feel right, make an adjustment. Maybe that's not the right thing to do in this moment. You're by yourself, that kind of thing, right? So, but yeah, I mean, but at the same time, remember, like, I had some good people around me that I could ask questions. I had the ability to watch early in my career, so that really helped me out, man. It was priceless. It's priceless. And then when I first got checked out to tiller, bro, I was still a junior dude on the shift, right? So really? I might tiller on Tuesday, right? And I'll be A2 on Friday. So that was a thing for me. A2 T7, and then it got to the point where it was T7, to the point where we'd be on box alarms, and somebody at 2 would be like, "Hey man, do you do anything other than tiller?"
Well, another challenging part of working where you worked at 12 Hillandale, right on the edge of Beltsville, is you would jump into PG, and you haven't mentioned it much in this. We haven't interviewed too many people that worked on the border. That comes with another set of challenges going to PG County. Similar SOPs, but not the same.
Yes.
Different mentality towards doing the job, and both aggressive.
Yes.
But sometimes borderlining on, we get into each other's faces a little bit over there, and it could be a bit tenuous at times working in PG, going in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, it can. I saw a little bit of that, but I never experienced it with anybody on that side where, we need to get in each other's face. Right now, I had that moment once or twice with some folks who were border in my station in the county, but never when we went to Prince George's. They were coming strong. It gets competitive, right? But like like it can get a little toxic too, right? So that Bravo, that stuff can come into play. They had a different system. They had a little more freedom. They had maybe a few more folks who just really didn't care. But I never had issues with the cast that I can recall, you know. So always managed to navigate to the point where if they were doing something against what we wanted to do, I just step back and let them do their thing, you know. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I always remember, because like I said before, like I would always see you in the morning at shift
yeah,
change. So we never got to work together a lot, but man,
yes.
I do always remember looking up at the lineup board and seeing who worked on A shift, and I was like, man, Lacey Tillerin again. Like, man, that man is always there.
And ain't complaining about nothing.
No,
he's
that's
over
why.
there quiet, you know. He's
Right, that's
setting
why he
roots
was
up,
happy.
you know,
Yeah, exactly.
not saying
But
a thing.
That's it. One word.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
and another thing I always remembered about you is like you were always just even keel. Like you were
Yeah.
never upset about stuff. Like I would never see you like mad or anything.
Yeah.
But you
But
were
you
always
know, I'm sorry to cut you off, Russ. Go ahead, brother.
you're good. I was just say you were always just at a good even level.
So on that tip, right? Like we were talking about growing up, and I didn't hit on this. Like one thing that I was an angry kid, right? So I was an angry kid, and I morphed into an angry adult. Okay, but like you said, interactions like that. Well, I never saw you this way, never saw you that way, but under the surface, it was straight bubbling, brother. It was straight, and nothing, nothing under there's bubbling in your direction, right? Because we were always cool, but like just stuff is just bubbling,
Oh
right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
there. I remember.
yeah,
I know. I've
yeah.
seen it.
So,
It's there.
so I had that going on. I had that going on for most of my life, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, to be honest with you, this job lends itself to people. You have to have a little chip,
Yeah.
just a little chip on your shoulder, because sometimes you gotta.
It'll work in your favor.
Just so you can accomplish what you need to accomplish, because the self-doubt just creeps in all the time. You know, I talked to you about that, Russ, way back in the day and all stuff. You know, you got to be careful. You almost have to stay in this almost simmering, slow simmer, so you can bubble up. You just hope that you can control it so it don't lash out of someone else.
Right.
But you need this to make these decisions, and you need this to make a move on something that you see happening and not really give it much of a thought, because you don't have that time.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, so you need that slow simmer. And if you think about it too much, or you give it way too much thought, or you're just kind of settled in, it kind of delays some of the stuff you might do. Now, some people in our job get away with that, but for me, that's never worked that way.
Yeah.
You know, I can see what Lacey's talking about. You feel like it's there, but you just know how to tap it down and when to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, like it was bubbling, brother. Bubbling to the point, like I finally didn't deal with it until like at the end of my career. I was like 43 and finally got some I call it couch time, right? Where you reach out to counselor, therapist, you know, someone trained in that area to try to figure out why you feel a certain way about certain things. Work through your childhood stuff. Learn that I thought it was this way growing up, but it really wasn't that. But because you're a kid, you know, this is your vision right here, right? So you know you can't necessarily see the big picture. But you know, I got some couch time starting like in 2013, and about 2.5 years, bro. I was getting some counseling, man, working through my stuff, man, finding some peace, and getting straight, man. And I wish I wish I had the courage, the know-with-all, whatever you want to call it, to do that 20 years prior, right? Because things could have been just so much better. As good as some things were, right? Like I could have been a better son, better brother, better husband, better parent, right? During those times, you know, sometimes we're taking these left turns, man, when we're supposed to go right. So and we're going right for maybe selfish reasons, right? So but yeah, I had to work through that, man. And folks could see. I remember being at the hospital, man, transferring a patient, and my man Linwood Joyner was like, Adrian, man, you just seem so peaceful, man. You know, I mean, that should tell you right there, right?
Yeah, when people start to notice it. Yeah.
Yeah. When people start to notice, man. So yeah.
I got you. Did you, when you were on a job and you were still struggling with any of this, like did you find that it spilled over into home life, or like did you find that stuff that you experienced on the job, like maybe calls or like the traumatic stuff that you saw, did you felt that made it worse? Or
I'm not sure if any calls made it worse. You know, I used to work out a lot, and that's how I would deal with my state of being, right? You get into that euphoric feeling of exhaustion, and I would experience a lot of that at work too when we would run some calls where you have to work, right? And then as you're finishing up, man, you feel good, right? So but the thing with that is when you don't talk to folks, I don't know if any of the calls spilled over. And I think just that state of being just kind of affected everything, right? It can affect my relationship with my family, my relationship with my shift mates, where, like I said, like a lot of it was good, but it could have been even better, you know?
I got you.
Yeah, acknowledging you need help was a big one, man. That takes a level of maturity that sometimes to be honest with you, we just don't possess. I mean, that's not, you just don't think you need anything. And the truth is that we all do.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
We all do.
And we've talked with other folks who have mentioned that there's the stigma out there that, well, if I express my need, that like I need help, or I'm not okay with something, that I'll be seen as weak.
Yeah. And that's a lie that the world has told us, right? It's actually the opposite, right? The person with strength is the one that's asking for help.
100%.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what the world that's one of the lies the world has told us. You know, we have some similar things that go along with being a man. You got to do things this way. You got to do things that way, right? Some of those are just straight lies, brother. It doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it that way. Folks need help. You should be able to ask for help, right?
Exactly.
And we should be willing to help each other.
True. Yeah, we should be willing to help each other.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes we can't get past our own ego.
Nah,
At
bro.
times, it's that ego. That dude, that monkey is big, man, and we can't get it off our back no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, and the irony is, you know, we're in a field profession where we're there to help others, but like we seem to struggle when it comes time to help each other.
True.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
That could be in the station, that could be on calls, that could be you're running a box, and you know, someone from another station, you know, has dropped the line or is having issues with the hose line, and we just step over them instead of helping them, right? Just little stuff, man. And then we come back to the station and we talk crap about them, right?
Talk shit about them, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of, yo, man, they needed help. How come we didn't help them? How come you didn't help them, right?
Yeah.
So it's little things, man.
Yeah.
No, it's about the we, not the me. But man,
there you go.
That selfishness is so, man, it's hardwired, buddy.
I know.
To break out of that joint, man. It's a survival instinct, man.
I know.
You want to feel so good about yourself, you know.
But why can't you feel good when you help your brother or sister who was struggling on the fire ground versus versus pointing and laughing at them and going to do your thing, you know?
Right. Just
So
step over them. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you know what you know, I mean, with this job, I mean, what belief did you have when you first got the job that changed as you got closer to retirement, man? What did you come in thinking, and then as you got close, it changed?
I mean, when I was coming in, you know, I was feeling like, oh man, this is. I had a idealistic view, like this big brotherhood, this and that, right? And it is a brother and sisterhood, but on a much smaller scale than I had in my mind, right? So it's like you'll develop relationships where like there are some in there they're going to ride with you for the rest of your life, but on a whole, we just talked about, you know, on a whole, if we're not helping each other in these areas when we see someone clearly needs a hand, I mean, are we really being brotherly or sisterly to them folks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just felt that it was on a much bigger scale, and then in my heart, you know, as time went on, I'm like, well, it exists, but I don't think it's really that way.
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
mean, they rally the troops here pretty good when someone dies or your family needs stuff. They do that pretty well. I think it's just it's gauging your expectations of what you expect people to do on the day-to-day normal stuff
That's true.
when they're just doing their own thing, right?
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
and it's just it's you're always trying to strive to get to that spot. You know, I don't know sometimes if we're not that we're not capable or we just maybe not willing
Yeah,
in every occasion, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it gets kind of manifested on a continuum too.
Mhm.
I mean, I think if there's an email that goes out that says, hey, this firefighter is in need of, you know, a work sub or
Mhm.
something because he got injured or something like that, then that's, I think you see a lot of people who would step up to give, because that's an easy thing to help with.
That- you can see that, but you know, on the flip side of that, when Tony and I were newer, when we were young in our career, when someone would need help, I would hear some of the
Yeah.
older guys questioning, you know, what kind of person they were, you know, you know, do they take leave all the time? They call in sick all the time, you know, all these
Yeah.
kind of like variables that were going to affect whether they helped or not. And I understand it's their choice to help or not,
They
right?
don't have to, yeah.
Yeah, but and I understand it. I get it, right? But it wasn't like somebody needs help, boom, we got them. It wasn't like that,
I
right?
Mhm.
mean,
For everybody.
the fire department is a microcosm of society.
Exactly.
So I mean, there's some people that are going to help unconditionally,
There you
and
go.
then some people need pro quo, pro
Yeah,
quo, and other
they
people
need some
just
they
I
need
don't
some
care.
info. Yeah,
I'm just doing my own thing, and you do your own thing. You should mind, you know, you should cover your own self,
and yeah,
you know, and that they're just going to get that. But I mean, and then they're in a place where supposedly they give part of their life. You know, I mean, this job does give a lot and it's taken a lot. And a lot of
it
them we've talked to and
takes a
Russ,
lot.
they're willing to give and they've changed throughout. And they
Right.
just, you know, it's just they were taught a messed up way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they, and they got hurt. You know, what she say, Miles? Hurt people, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's another reason to get a little couch time, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can end that cycle,
That's
true.
it. That's exactly right. That's
right?
exactly right. So kind of going on that wavelength, um, as you are moving on in your career and
hmm
you find that, hey, I'm getting ready to start landing this plane. Like when did you know that it was time to retire?
So I think I was in maybe my 15th or 16th year, and I was just kind of getting tired of the culture, right? The culture of the fire department. Um, uh, the trash talk, the walking around, basically praying for disaster so you can run a call, kind of a thing. I mean, it's part of the culture, and I know people just want to run calls. The toxicity, depending on where you work or what shift you're on, that kind of stuff. So I'm in like the 15th, 16th year, and it's taken me longer, right? Usually when I got to work, I get in the door, I get my gear off the rack, I'm dialed in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then now, like, I'm not dialing in till about 11:30, 12 o'clock, right? So, but once I'm in, right? So, okay, well, that's a thing. So then I started looking at every day. I'm online looking at life in Belize, Costa Rica, Ruatan, Honduras, stuff like that. Like, and I just started daydreaming about living someplace else. So, so I think around that time when I was kind of getting tired of the culture. I still enjoy running calls. I mean, I wouldn't complain if you didn't bother me after midnight. I'm kind of in that phase now, right?
Right.
But I still enjoy running calls, and then especially like every once in a while where we actually help somebody. But like I'm at the point now, I think that I can do without it, right? So, so I think it was around that time.
Gotcha. And so you had transferred to Station 5 on day work.
My last year in the drop. Yes, sir.
Yep, last year in the drop. And it sounds like that was a really good time for you.
And that's not to say like my time prior to going to 5, it was good too, right?
Yeah.
But it shocked the system a little bit because I'm in a different position. So 5D, that was a good time. I enjoyed them fellas a lot, OG, my man Ortiz, Terrence Dickens.
Terrence.
But like, there were days where like my man Nelson would be driving me on the ambulance, right? So, keep in mind, I'm coming from 12. Man, I haven't ridden the 8 on the ambulance since I can't remember. Like it's been over a decade, right? So so now
right.
like man, I gotta up my game, using the EPCR, so I mean I got it, and it was like quick, man. I got to get it like yesterday, right? So that was a shock to the system. But outside of that, man, I had a ball over there, man. I'm running.
Once you get it down.
Yeah, I had a ball over there. So now I'm in kind of like a ideal spot where I'm running calls in multiple areas of the county, and I'm getting to see some of my friends who I hadn't seen in years because I'm hitting every shift in multiple areas, right? So I enjoyed that part a lot, right? So, and then it was a good spot to work, man. I enjoyed it.
Good,
man.
Do you remember your last shift?
Yeah, I remember my last shift.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, what was that like?
So prior to my last shift, so I my vacation picks were the last 2 weeks of February, right? So March 1st was my retirement day, right? 2016. So my vacation picks were the last 2 weeks of February, and I was going to cancel some of that, but I wasn't telling anybody when my last day was, right? The fellas were like, Adrian, man, when's your last day? When's your last day? I said, look, man, when you see me come to work and at 1700, I snatched my name off the back of my coat, that means I ain't coming back, right? So last day, I ran a few calls. Actually, my last day, I told OG, because he's my officer, I said, hey, look, man, today's it, right? So he was funny, man. He said, okay, cool. He said, hey, man, you got enough leave to hold you over through March 1st? I said, well, it's going to have to be enough because I ain't coming back, right? So
I don't know. I'm not coming back, so we'll see what happens.
he said, okay. He said, okay. So my last day, I think we ran a few calls. I didn't feel sad or anything like that, man. I think I was kind of excited, looking forward to, the next chapter. And the interesting thing was, box goes out at like 16:57, bro. And it turns out it wasn't us, but it's like to the last couple minutes, man. You're still dialed in, right? Come to find, it was close, but it wasn't for us. So I said, okay. But that last day, man, I had a certain level of happiness, man. No sadness, and I was just looking forward to the next chapter, man. I mean, I felt like I was ready, right? I was the kind of dude that when we were new, we had 25-year retirement at 50%. I was always looking forward to them switching that to 20. Like,
yeah,
we'll get 20, maybe we'll get 20, right? I was never, coming from military family, a lot of folks, they do 20 years and they move on, they do something else, right? Or get hired back by the government as an independent contractor, what have you. So I was never, in my mind, I was never a 28, 29, 30 year plus guy. Not that I didn't enjoy what I was doing. It was just that, I was never interested in being there that long. Right. So I was looking forward to the next chapter, and it brought me a little peace. Yeah.
Okay. So you man, it's 23 years, man.
Yeah.
You're one of the early ones that got out of our recruit class. You're one of the first ones. I mean, you started that ball rolling. They started to fall like pins. Then they were starting to come down.
There were a few of us. There were a few of us in that group. I mean, Kathy Regan was rolling out around the same time.
Kathy Regan did leave. Yep, she was at ECC. Yeah,
yes, sir. She rolled out and was like, I'm out. I'm driving to Vegas, right? So, so yeah, you're right.
And who else? What was her name? I can't think of her
Paula
name.
Franklin.
Yes.
Yep. Same
she
thing.
She left too. So you're out now.
Yes.
What are you doing? You're still a young dude, man. You're very young, man. So you got to find another gig because 50% of your salary is good, but it don't cover everything.
No, it doesn't cover everything. I've been blessed to have my wife has a career also. So we're a team. Yeah, we both had careers, both had salaries. But a year prior to my retirement, I started doing private soccer skills training sessions. So I had one kid. I started training him in 2015. He was in 5th grade, and I trained him all the way through 10th grade. Right. So he's now a scholarship player at Gonzaga University out in Washington State. So, so I did that. I started that, and when I retired, I still had that one trainee, and then I had a couple kids from some of my coworkers. Right. I had OG. I had his oldest daughter for about a month, try to get her ready for high school. I had Chantel's son for a couple months because he just loved it and she just wanted him to get some more training. And I get a kid or two on the humble whose parents will be out there on the field when we'll be training and ask if I could work out their kids. So I did that from 2015, and so now I retired in 2016. So I was doing that on Sundays, right? So I'm working 1 hour a week, right? Every Sunday from 11 to 12, 10 to 11, whatever. So I do that, but like my average day, man, I wake up, make that coffee, go sit out on the balcony, and I'm just chilling, listening to the birds sing, drinking my coffee, and just being perfectly fine in the state that I'm in.
Oh, that's great. So you really just didn't get another gig, or you didn't go work anywhere else? Or you
man, Anthony Crump called me like right as I'm retiring, say, hey man, you want a job? I was like, bro, it's like, man, let me just chill for a little bit, right? So So I chilled, and that little bit turned into 2 years.
Nice.
Oh,
So, but in
like
that
600 and something days, right?
man, but in that 2 years, I'm still working out. I'm still working out a kid here and there. But I'm doing things my way, right? I'm not. I don't feel the need to. I didn't feel the need to jump back out there and
Good.
have to have a full time or and at the same time, man, I never needed a whole lot, right? So
Right.
people are like, oh man, how can you afford to do? How can you afford this? How can you afford that? It's like, yo, man, I don't need a whole lot, man. We all have a lot already, right? So
We do.
we have a lot, man. So we can downsize, minimize things, and be perfectly fine. It just comes down to what's most important to the individual. And
True.
and for me, like a certain level of peace has always been the most important thing, right? That's why I never sought for promotion. I was enjoying what I was doing, where I was doing it. And whenever I went on vacation, I was on vacation, right? I didn't have to check my phone. I had to worry about what was going on in the county and none of that stuff, man. I was off, right? So, and that's how I liked it, right? So I just rode with that. And but post retirement, those first couple of years, man, I was relaxing hard, bro.
Yeah. Didn't you lived in Hawaii? I remember you lived in Hawaii for a little bit.
So now I did. So as far as Hawaii goes, my wife and I moved to Hawaii in January 4, 2021. We sold or gave away like all of our stuff except for like memorabilia and stuff, right? Sold our cars, whatever, packed 2 suitcases each, some carry-ons, boom, and we bounced. So we're living in Waikoloa Village, Hawaii, on the Big Island.
Wow.
So we're there from January 2021 through August 31st, 2022.
Okay.
What's that like? What was that like living in Hawaii?
I mean, it was, for me, it was the best I had ever been that I can recall. It's the best mentally I have ever been in my life that I can recall.
Really?
It was peaceful environment. The daily walk is different. I mean, you step out with peace versus like ready to battle the world kind of a thing, right? So we're in the village. We're 15 minutes from multiple beaches, bro. And our day consisted of, we get up, we're chilling, we're watching TV. All right, are we gonna go to the Waimea Farmers Market first, or are we going to the beach first? Right? So those are my concerns, brother.
I mean, I feel more relaxed just hearing you talk about that, man.
I know, man. I
That's
want
indeed, right? And then when you step out, like, think how life is for us in the area where we live. But there, when you step out, you always speak. When you're passing strangers, crossing paths, you say hello. You say, how's it, aloha, or just how you doing, right? It's when in doubt, you speak, right? So, and 9 times out of 10, you get that in return. So I felt there, like when we stepped out, being humble and respectful, you always got that back and then some. And that was the daily walk.
So I have to ask, man, what brought you back to the
exactly? That's the next question, right?
Yeah.
Why are you here?
So 1 month in, my wife starts missing the boys, right? But I'm not really understanding what kind of level that's on, right? She's kind of doing it quietly, keeping it to herself, but like it's a thing, right? So so the boys come out in June, and we send them back home after the visit, and I'm still good. My wife, she's it's even worse now, right? Because they were here, now they're back, right? That we sent them back. Boys come out for the Christmas holiday, right? she wasn't feeling well, so I drove him to the airport, and now I'm driving back to the house, and it hits, right? I'm like, oh snaps, right? It's like, man, this doesn't feel good, right? So in that moment, now I can understand what she had been feeling like for the last 11 months. Okay, 10 months, 11 months. So I get back to the house, and I told her how I was feeling. I said, I'm sorry. I said, now I understand, right? I said, and we can't stay. She was like, cool. So when are we going back? So now that we mentally, like, we put the wheels in motion of now we're returning, the psyche is totally different, right? Because we know we're coming back. Now it's like we straight back on vacation mode, right? So we set a couple of dates. We set a date. Let's come back after. I want to do another such and such winters here or something like that, right? So I was like, that's still putting a lot of time here. You know what I mean? So so we worked it out. So we decided we were coming back. Let's say January 22. So we worked it out, and we ended up staying through the end of August. We want to be here, let them come back and visit one more time, and then we all come back to the mainland. So yeah, man, that's why we came back, bro. And I'm telling you, man, if you ever get a chance to experience the Big Island, you should take advantage of it and be there for an extended stay. Not a week. Maybe like 3 or 4 weeks if you can. And you might understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, my wife and I had our honeymoon in Kauai.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, we were ready to move there after that. So
yes, sir. So you already know,
Really?
right?
Oh yeah.
You already know. We
Hawaii,
vacation.
Yeah, so Hawaii is one of those places where the hype is real.
So 2016, August 2016, took the family on vacation to Hawaii. We spent a week in Kauai and a week in Maui, right? Kauai, I loved it. It was very authentic. It was chill. It was beautiful, right? So I was ready to spend all of our son's college money to not come back, right? So it's one of those things, man, where it's almost like it's a spiritual connection, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
It's nice.
When you can go to a spot, where their people feel like your people, like it's just natural, like it's kind of hard to explain. That's the feeling I have when I'm in Hawaii.
I believe it.
Yeah.
100%.
So you going back to visit?
Yeah, about where are we now? This is 1st of July. So September 2025, we'll be there for the whole month.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Good.
Very good. Very good, man.
We got Ohana there. We got friends that are like family. They got Airbnbs, so we don't have a problem having a place to stay. We don't have a problem having a car because before we even came back here, they said, no, we got you. Just let us know when you're coming. You can just use one of our cars. I mean, that's the island.
The way it rolls.
Yeah,
that's the island, man.
That's what's up.
That's
addictive. Yeah.
Nice, man.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, man, as we get ready to land this plane here, so you've been out for how long? You've been retired now?
8 years, player.
8 years. All right. So, looking back on your career, if you could sit down and talk with yourself after just graduating from the academy, what would you say?
Oh man, I'd probably say don't worry, right? Everything's gonna be okay. Just do your thing. Everything's gonna be okay. Maybe say, reach out, try to get some help with some things you've been dealing with, and maybe that ride can be a little more enjoyable. But basically, like, everything's gonna be okay.
Cool, man.
That's a good
That's
word.
good, man. So now that you know you've been to the Big Island, you've gone to these places, you've done a lot of things here now, man. Um, when you wake up in the morning, who does
Sir.
Adrian Lacey see in the mirror, man? Who's that guy looking back at you?
Man, I see a guy that's been through some changes. I see a guy who still has some work to do. I see a guy who uh, not necessarily known it all the time, but has been granted the ability to touch other people's lives, and to receive that as well. I see a guy who had done his best in a lot of areas, but in some areas still could have done even more. So, but you know what, we are who we are. We're all human, and I'm grateful to be able to get to the other side of that thing. I'm grateful to get there healthy, because I watched some folks not get there and watch some folks kind of limp there, and it is a gift to get to the other side of it healthy, mentally and physically. And I'm most appreciative, and I'm forever grateful for my time and those people that I was able to be around in the fire department.
Absolutely, man. They talk about it a lot of you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
You cherish your times when you do hard things with good people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, and I guess as a little parting shot, so what would you say to the younger firefighter listening right now? Like, what would be your advice to them, and what would you say to the firefighter who's about to get into the drop and will be gone in a few years?
I would say to the younger firefighter is that, you know, don't get caught up. Don't get caught up in that station talk, when you hear others demeaning others in the fire department. You have probie work. Do your probie work every day. You have training. Do your training every day. If you're caught up on all that, just get in your map book. Be in your map book every day. Stay away from that. Stay away from that cliquish stuff. I would tell folks, man, the best probie I ever saw was this guy named Jake Hoover. So when I came off day work back to 12A, Jake was on probation. And coming into the station, this dude probably had as much experience and training as probably the most trained individual in the station, in my opinion, right? And he never said one word. He was always in his probie book. He was always drilling. And I even learned from watching this cat. We were doing a drill out back. We were doing a ladder drill. And usually you would see cats try to take a ladder and slide it down the building. And I watched Jake Hoover spin this thing. I was like, oh, snaps. It's like, I stuck that thing in my pocket, man. From that day forward, man, that was one of my go-tos. So like, people will be more receptive to receive, be more likely to receive what you have to offer when you come in. When you come in day one and you are humble and you understand what position that you're playing at the moment, and just play your position, right? It's a team effort. We all have our roles. I think the machine will work a whole lot better when folks just focus on where they are in that moment and just play your position as best you can, and just roll with that.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. And how about to the firefighter that's about to retire in a few years? What would you say to him or her?
Firefighter that's about to retire, I would say, number one, congratulations. Number two, don't look at it as like a death sentence, or, you know, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do? I mean, there's so much more out there, like, waiting for everybody, right? some people put themselves in the category, I'm just a dumb fireman. It's like I never liked that. I never signed on with that. And no one else should, right? So, I mean, coming out, I worked in the school system, in special education. I worked at a special center. You know, I work as a housing inspector for the city of Laurel right now. I mean, there's just stuff out there. You can try whatever you want, do it for a little bit. You know, I'm kind of tired of that. I'll go try something else, right? So the next chapter, it can be so beautiful, right? You just have to be open to receive it. Right? Don't be depressed because this thing's over now. There is a little period where, you know, you may feel a certain kind of way because it's over, right? You may think, man, I was here so long and I got to a certain kind of level, and you might feel like, oh man, you know, I feel like I was really good at this, and now it's gone, right? So there's a little something you got to go through with that. But you know what? That applies to us. That applies to most other careers. That applies to professional athletes. You know, it's like, I mean, that's just the way it is when you close one chapter.
Yeah.
You know?
And close a chapter. The book ain't done. Chapter's done. Yep.
Chapter's done, but you know, you're still rolling.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, Adrian,
All right,
man,
brother.
yeah, it's been a pleasure, bro.
Man,
Yeah, thank you.
Man, likewise. You're welcome. I thoroughly enjoyed being here, bros.
Yeah, man. A lot of people gonna get a lot out of that podcast. I'm glad you had the time and you gave us the time. Appreciate you, brother.
I'm glad you reached out.
Yeah, man.
Glad you called my number. I've been admiring everybody else's interview. I was praying for my day.
Well, you definitely delivered, man. You definitely delivered, and we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I appreciate the opportunity.
And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So my email is futbolskillz. That's futbolskillz@gmail.com. You can reach out.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes. So if people want to reach out to you, they can.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
Adrian Lacey, thank you so much, man. Thank you for your career. Thank you for your service to the citizens of Montgomery County. And bro, thank you for sitting down with us, man. We appreciate you.
You got it, man. I love being here.
Absolutely, Lacey, brother. Love you.
Man, Pete, love you too, man. 7, November 16th, 1992.
That's it, baby.
7.
Thanks for listening to the When the Smoke Clears podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Instagram at When the Smoke Clears podcast, or you can email us at whenthesmokeclears8@gmail.com. That's when the smoke clears and the number 8 at gmail.com.